the 15th round of the 5 Club Racing MX5 Championship. Sees the series' first race at Spa, and the first time a UK-based championship. It's headed to Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps, and the series sharing the grid with the Dutch series, the Mazda Rybank Max 5 Cup, with 2 grids on the track and over 60 cars taken to the circuit, as the cars currently now on their green flag lap. The race will set off in 2 batches. The Dutch runners, the 23 competitors there, will go off first before about a 75-second delay before the British 5 Club Racing competitors can get going. It'll be a rolling start for both parts of the race. Damp qualifying yesterday here on the International GT Open and F3 meeting saw the fastest time going to Martel Decker in the Rybank Max 5 Cup. Decker is the championship leader after the series has headed to Zandvoort, Zolder, Pinkster, Assen and then Zandvoort for a second time. So championship leader on pole position, then it's Maki Kolodrotsky alongside him, and actually Decker was 2 seconds faster than anybody else, so he is definitely going to be the man to beat. In the 5 Club Racing, you can see the cars on the screen now, it is Jack Sycamore that has got pole position in the 13th round of the championship. Sycamore was a winner at Cadwell Park and sits 3rd in the championship coming to this weekend. Alongside him will be Will Blackwell Chambers, who is won twice at Anglesey, and will be looking to close in on the championship leader, who is Ben Short, who starts 3rd. Ben Short has won 11 times already this season. Just missing out at Anglesey. He didn't win any of the race at Anglesey, but has won everywhere else. But was 7 tenths down on Sycamore's time yesterday. Sycamore did a 3:14.6, Blackwell Chambers a 3:14.7, and Ben Short was a 3:15.3. Next up is Chris Greatrex, the first of the Greatrex brothers, and Jason is next up, starting 5th. Oliver Allwood, who went well last time at Snetterton, starts 6th, ahead of James Rogers, who was our other winner at Anglesey. It was a triple header there. Blackwell Chambers taking 2 races and Rogers the other. Even though Ben Short has won so many times this year, how the point scoring system goes still really means Blackwell Chambers, Sycamore and Rogers are all in a very good fighting chance of the series. But still 5 races to go, 2 this weekend at Spa, and then a triple header end of the year at Mallory Park in about 3 weeks' time. Alongside Rogers on the 4th row of the 5 Club grid will be Scott Leach, then Chris Lovis and Graham McMurtry round off the top 10 in a 33 car grid for the 5 Club Racing competitors. Some new runners in the field, including Ben Tuck, who actually set the fastest time, but due to being a runoff competitor will be starting 30th on the grid, so watch out for him coming through, because he will be fast. And starting behind him also Jake Simpson, Darren Standard and Trevor Slatter. Slatter, a usual competitor in the 750 Trophy, run by the 750 Motor Club, that also helps to run the 5 Club Racing MX5 Championship in its first season as a championship. Run as a series last year, and over 30 cars already by the end of the first season. Meant a championship could be made in 2015, and it's been pretty successful with high grids all the way through the season, competitive races. Even though Ben Short has won the majority of the races, he's never been far ahead. So our Dutch competitors for the Mazda Ryback Max 5 Cup. Head towards the start line then. And are about to get this race underway. Away they go then. They charge down to La Source, one of the cars on the grass. But I think he's managed to avoid any kind of disaster. Let's hope they can all make their way through La Source safely on this first lap. It's a large number of cars turning into La Source all in one go. It does look like they are able to do so in these very tricky conditions here. They're going 2 or 3 wide in some instances, heading down towards Eau Rouge. Is it Decker then, or poleman that leads? And a very sideways car behind him. But he saves it as they go over the top of the hill and then down the long Camel Straight with these MX-5s to get good, really good slipstream even in these damp conditions. So it looks to me that Decker is leading the way. From Kowalski, he held on to second. Yes, and then it's first one who is next up. So the 5 Club race competitors get underway, and Chris Graytrex launches up in the air, but he dived between the 2 BS Motorsport cars. There was contact made. Will Blackwell Chambers has gone down. There's contact now with Scott Leach. Chris Graytrex spins, so does Leach. A pretty abysmal start there for Chris Graytrex then. Clouting 2 or 3 cars, not necessarily his fault, but he got caught up in those incidents. It's a long way down the pack. Scott Leach will rejoin also, but right at the rear of the field, and Ben Short going for the lead. I think Jason Graytrex, a very good start from him. He started 5th, he leads now. It's Ben Short side by side with Jack Sycamore in the battle for 2nd place. They go over the brow of Eau Rouge and a spin. That's Will Blackwell Chambers, who was involved in an incident going down towards La Source. He has a big spin out of Eau Rouge. So championship contender Blackwell Chambers then is heading backwards in a hurry. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Marcel Decker getting away by a good margin to the rest of the field. And Kowalski and Verschwon switching places about of a second. Meanwhile, back to the 5 Club racers. And it is Graytrex that leads. Michael Comber having a big slide out of Lacombe there. These slippery conditions, and MX-5's very much accustomed to sliding, and there's one of the cars in the gravel trap. That looked like Graham Murphy to me. Through Bruxelles they go then. There's Daniel Stewart. We've got another car that's spun very slippery conditions, and that's Jake Simpson going there sideways. That's McMurdy also going sideways. He spun earlier and he's gone right round now. So has one of the Mike Comber Racing cars. That was Simon Fleet. Meanwhile, the overall race leaders heading into the bus stop to complete their first lap. And it is Decker that leads, and second is Kowalski, and then it's Verswillian in third. They turn their way then into La Source, sideways for the 96 car of Manfred Babelar. He started in 4th. He's just been passed by Rudy Childers, the reigning champion. Very close race in the 5 Club part of the race. About 20 cars in shot there, including Will Blackwell Chambers, as he tries to gather his way after that spin. James Rogers under all sorts of pressure. There's Jack Sycamore ahead of those. There's Rogers then ahead of Comber. And Kevin Dengate involved in that as well as Chris Graytrex He had that spin on that first lap at Le Source, so he's recovered well. Down the inside, attempted to come the car of Drew Forster, but he couldn't make it work. Marco Argam was down the inside and another car was bouncing all over the curves. So the front few are split up a bit, but it's all go behind. It's Ben Short that leads the way though from Chris Greytracks. And Albert Alwood's come up to third, and it's Rogers in fourth, Leach fifth, and Chris Lovett going well in sixth place. Bit more spread out in the Rybank series. A massive lead for Marcel Decker. But it's a switch for second because Yuri Verswurian has got ahead of Maciej Kurowski. The front top six or so are a bit spread out in the 5 club part of the race, but then it's a massive clump of cars all together. Just behind Jack Sycamore, you've got James Rogers, then Comber, Chris Greytracks, then Kevin Dengate. And the rest of them flow through. There's Blackwell Chambers going down the inside into Lecombe. And he made it done. There's another car directly ahead of him. So there's Sycamore with Rogers catching. And you got Comber. So it was short leading from Jason Greytracks and Oliver Alwood actually in third. Fourth was Sycamore, fifth Rogers, sixth Comber, then Chris Greytracks was seventh, and eighth for Dengate, ninth Forster, and 10th was Marco Argam. A great start from him because he was outside the top 20 on the grid. So that was how they looked after the first lap. Lap 2 then being completed by our overall leader. It's Marcel Decker that leads. Second is Verswurian. You saw Kurowski there in short, and he's trying to go side by side. He tries to get second place back here as they head down towards Eau Rouge. Not quite as sideways as the 5 club racing cars are now. Ben Short appeared to have his arm out the cockpit there, but he continues to lead. But Jason Greytracks going with him. There's a car off. Yellow flags are out there, and that's the reason he had his arm out of the cockpit. Just to make sure Jason Greytracks was aware of the yellow flag into Blanchimont. Fast left-hander, that is. Looks like Kurowski's got ahead of Verswurian in the battle for second. Verswurian very sideways out of Lecombe. So a change for second there. And trying to close them in is Rudy Childers. Second, third and fourth then. All together turning their way through Bruxelles. There's Jack Sycamore crossing the line. He's fourth in the 5 club race, ahead of Mike Comber, who's got Chris Greytracks looking down the inside of him into La Source. He can't do that though. It's Will Blackwell Chambers just going down the inside of Marco Argam. Gets that done. Daniel Stewart behind the pair of those. Jake Simpson gets very sideways. James Rogers behind him, not going as well as we normally see Rogers go. Usual podium contender and visitor into Eau Rouge. Safety car boards are out, so we've got a safety car on the track for that car that had gone off. Matchell, Brookhurst and Hans Breebels missing. We had 58 cars that actually made the start, still 56 cars running then. And of course now the safety car's out, there's not going to be the big gap between the two separate races. So Ben Short's job's going to actually become pretty tough now to hold on to this lead, because he's going to have to do all this passing of the back runners in the Dutch part of the race, who in qualifying they were something like 15-20 seconds quicker than. So just a rundown of the order. It was Ben Short that leads. Second, Jason Greytrax. Third, Oliver Alwood, going well. In fourth, Jack Sycamore. Fifth is Mike Comber. Sixth, Chris Greytrax. Seventh, Kevin Dengate. Eighth is Drew Forster. Ninth is Will Blackwell Chambers. And 10th, Marco Argum. Overall leaders crossing the line. They'll soon be caught up with the safety car. It is Marcel Decker that leads that, now from Masiev Korowski, after getting ahead of Yuri Verstian. And fourth place is Rudy Schilders. Fifth is Manfred Bavalar. And in sixth, Raf Lemons. Now, of course, Decker had a huge lead before the safety car come out. It was 9.8 seconds after the second lap. That's all coming to nothing now. Hopefully we'll be able to get the safety car out of the way just after one lap, because it's only a 20-minute race, and on these laps are taking well over 3 minutes. It will eat into the race time for the runners. Ben Short had a 2-second lead before the safety car over Jason Greytrax. And there was another couple of seconds to Elwood, who was just ahead of Sycamore. No, sorry, he was 6 seconds ahead of Sycamore, but lapping around the same time, 3:37s. Comber and Chris Greytrax there. So 3:33.8, fastest lap for Ben Short, which puts him about 5th, 6th quickest cars on the circuit overall. He was lapping, what, a couple of seconds or 1.2 seconds quicker than Jason Greytrax, and the pair of them are going 2 seconds faster than anyone else but Will Blackwell Chambers, who's making his way through the order. Also Jake Simpson lapping quick, he's done a 3:35. And he's making progress fairly quickly. So everyone's going to have to catch up with the safety car now on what is the 4th lap of the race, I think. Through they go. There's Dengate, Kevin Dengate, who's also a competitor in the MX150R Cup run by 5 Club Racing. They're running at Castle Combe this weekend. Of course, most of the 5 Club Racing attention is on Spa, with such an exciting race meeting for the runners. First time that UK MX5 racers have been able to race on this legendary circuit, and on a pretty big weekend too, with the International GT Open headline in the bill. Coming to Spa then, it was Ben Short who had a 40-point lead over Will Blackwell Chambers, then third Jack Sycamore and fourth James Rogers, and the Greytrax brothers in 5th and 6th, Ian Tomlinson, Marcus Bailey, Sam Haggerty, who's not here, and Nicola Doyen, top 10 in the championship. Whereas in the Rybank Max 5 Cup, it's Marcel Decker that heads the way by just 18 points to Bart Ruben. Then Yuri Vershurian, Manfred Bavalar and Eric Sliphorse, the top 5. Of course, the two series run into slightly different regulations, different tyres, therefore not running together on the track. And of course, letting their separate championships battle amongst themselves, but the safety car will have brought them together, and hopefully we'll very shortly be going back racing. Drivers trying to get some heat into their tyres. Not so easy to do on this damp racetrack. So can Marcel Decker do what he did both in qualifying and in the first part of this race and be a lot quicker than went out? He was on pole by 2 seconds and actually lapping 5 seconds faster than anyone else as the race restarted. Slower conditions than there was in qualifying. Quickest lap in qualifying a 3:10.3, which is the fastest lap in the race so far, a 3:25.4. I don't think it's rained since we started, so getting back going, you'd expect quicker lap times to come in. Probably only got time for 2 further laps in this race. So we're about to get back going. Safety car has peeled off. And where's Ben Short and all the 5 club competitors? Well, there they are. They've got lots of cars to get past. So their 2 laps is going to be rather exciting, isn't it? So green flags wave, we go racing. Marcel Decker heads the way from Klotsky. It's a fairly even restart from our front runners. We look into the middle of the shot though to see where Ben Short is, trying how many cars he can pass straight away. Well, there he is, going down the inside of one car already. And that's not Short, is it? That's still more of a... No, Short's a bit further up, isn't he, I think. So into Eau Rouge, the top 3 already broke away. Decker, Korotsky and Verswirian. And we try and pick out where our 5 club leaders are. Now there's Ben Short, isn't he? He's already got 2 cars between him and Jason Greytrex. Greytrex so with Alwood, Sycamore and Comber and Chris Greytrex. So they're second to 6. 5 cars all together, battling it out. Slipstreaming starting down the Kemmel Straight once more. A challenge on for 4th as Bavillard tries to attack Shielders. You look towards the rear of the shot, you can see Jason Greytrex defending as the rest of the field exit Eau Rouge. Leaders down at the hairpin already. Decker starting to get that gap back once again, what he had before the restart. Ben Short though, good restart he made, getting a couple of cars between him and Jason Greytrex. So the 2 cars are side by side though between him and Jason Greytrex. So Greytrex is going to have to watch out for Oliver Alwood, who's going very well here so far at Spa. Then we've got Sycamore and Comber. Mike Comber also going well in these tricky conditions. Down towards Puhon they go. And then towards the campus, right left, previously known as Piff Paff. There was Amy Barker trying to make up a position. I think she did it. She's running within the Rybank category. Of course, though, being a British race driver. There's Ben Short. Still got those 2 cars between him and his competitors. He's going to make it 3. Yes, he does. Going into Stavilo. So that was a good move from him. I think Jack Sycamore's lost some places. It looks like Sycamore is now behind Comber and Chris Greytrex. I was hoping we'd have a look at that, but director switching back to the 2nd place battle overall. Down towards the bus stop they go. And Verswirian is back ahead of Kolotsky. And a big sideways moment there for Verswirian, but he holds on to that 2nd spot after regaining it once more. How's Ben Short getting on with his disposal of Dutch racers? Well, there he is, just turning into the bus stop now, with nobody now between him and Jason Greatrex. But Greatrex has got cars between him and Alwood, then Chris Greatrex and Mike Comber leaning on each other. Somebody's outbraked himself and gone straight on and rejoined. That looks like Marco Aogum, who had that great start. He would take about 10 cars on the opening lap. So Short, a big margin he's got as they go into the final lap of the race. Short leading by 3 seconds to Jason Greatrex, who's got a couple of cars now between him and Alwood. Comber 4th, 5th is Chris Greatrex, 6th Will Blackwood Chambers, and Jack Sycamore's down to 7th. And it's Dengate in 8th. And a spin. That's Amy Barker that spun at the top of Eau Rouge. Ben Short again, arm out the cockpit to let drivers behind him know the yellow flags are out. Good driving that from Short. Side by side for 4th once again between Childers and Bavilar. Childers ahead, Bavilar was across the line. Seb switched around once more. 3-car battle for 4th overall. Childers was going with that battle for 2nd before the safety car, so that's not been good for him as massive cars head into Lacuma Massets. Oliver Alwood that leads, side by side between Chris Greatrex and very good recovering Will Backwell Chambers. Mike Comber's dropped back behind the pair of them, and then now we look at the battle between James Rogers and Daniel Stewart. They're nose to tail. Back to the battle for 2nd of the 5 club racing competitors. It's Jason Greatrex with a couple of cars between him and Oliver Alwood, and Chris Greatrex next, Will Blackwell Chambers, Jack Sycamore, Mike Comber, all together. Short gaining another place. He's going to finish quite well up the overall order now, despite starting 75 seconds behind them. In the background you can see Jason Greatrex, the car between him and Oliver Alwood. I'm sure this could be Alwood's best result of the season. But Marcel Decker, the championship leader in the Rybank Max 5 series, is going to take another win this season. His 7th victory of the year. 2nd place then for Yuri Verswaren. Then it's Marcel Volotsky that's going to finish 3rd. Then it's Childers and Slip Horse and Lemmers looking like that's going to be the top 6. I'm at the cockpit for Decker then. He wins as the checking flag flies. And actually Verswaren getting the fastest lap on that last lap, of 3 minutes 19.4. And it's Ben Short that's leading the 5 club competitors into bus stop. He's got 4 cars at least now between him and his closest competitor. Ben Short up to 9th place overall. He slides his car at the bus stop and takes the victory then, yet again in the 5 club racing Mazda MX-5 Championship. And it's a huge mass of cars out of the bus stop. Allwood's all over the tarmac runoff. It's about 3 or 4 wide. So 2nd for Jason Greatrex. Jack Sycamore got 3rd on the line. Then Chris Greatrex was 4th. Will Blackwood Chambers 5th. Allwood took 6th. Mike Comber down to 7th. More side-by-side action. This will be 3 wide across the line. That included Graham McMurtry and Ian Tomlinson, I think. So great racing right to the end of the 5 club race. You had Chris Greatrex, Will Blackwood Chambers, Oliver Alwood all separated by 1/10 of a second. The rest of the field then flow across the line. Pretty entertaining race that in the damp conditions. Probably been even more exciting in the dry with all the slipstreaming that is possible around the Spa circuit. But it was Ben Short that won then, finishing 9th overall. And Jason Greatrex was 15th. It was a 6-second victory for Ben Short over Greatrex. Then 3rd was Jack Sycamore. 4th Chris Greatrex. 5th Will Blackwell Chambers. 6th was Oliver Allwood. Mike Comber in 7th. 8th for Kevin Dengate, 9th Drew Forster, and round up the top 10 was Jake Simpson. He had come from the back, a good drive from him. James Rogers only managing 11th, with Daniel Stewart in 12th. Scott Leach, Mark Willits and Marco Argam completed the top 15 ahead of Alan Robson, Paul Monteith, Tom Pugh, Ian Tomlinson and Graham McMurphy completing the top 20. And Gianluca Moretta, Ben Hansey, Tim Hutchinson, Alec Livesley, Chris Lovett, Matt Short, Jamie Ingram, Simon Fleet, Stuart Brittle, Darren Standen completing the top 30. Still more runners. In 31st was Dale Whiteman, ahead of Russell Clark, Nigel Garrett and Trevor Slatter. 34 drivers completed the 5 club runners. Overall it was Marcel Decker that won, from Yuri Verswayan, then Magia Korowski, Rudy Shilders, Eric Sliphorst, Ralph Lemmers, Manfred Bavalar dropped down to 7th. 8th was Timo Wagner Humlik, then 9th overall was Ben Short, and 10th was Marius Berghuis. Another race to come later on for the Masters. Then the 5 club competitors heading to Mallory Park at the end of September for their season finale.